Welcome to Leaders in Action. I'm Robin Trimmingham of the Olderhood Group, and my guests today are Olderhood CEO Bill Story and Brian O'Hara, who's the former chairman and CEO of Excel. Today we're chatting with Brian about a new book that he's written. It's not the score, it's the trip. Welcome back, Brian. It's great to chat with you again.
Great to be with you too, Robin and Bill.
So start us off. Tell us what prompted you to write a book.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that actually sets out thinking about writing a book at any time. But in my retirement, I would regale new people I would meet on new boards I was joining or projects I was working on. And I'd regale them with stories about my life and how it all came together in Bermuda. And people would always say, you ought to write a book. And I just would pass it off. Yeah. But then a couple of years ago, a fellow named Deep Copenhaver, who was a longtime mayor of Augusta, Georgia, who I actually met the day before his wedding in Bermuda 20 years ago. This whole big group from Augusta, Georgia was down staying at Coral Beach Club, and they needed members at Mid-Ocean to play with them so they could play on a Saturday morning. And I volunteered, and I played with Deke and his father. Deke was the bridegroom, and his father, it turned out, was a member of the Augusta National Golf Club. So I don't think I was ever more excited about a golf game in my life when I played with them on a beautiful May day in Bermuda. And it went terrifically. And at lunch, he said, you ever think, you ever get down Augusta way? And I said, I go to Atlanta on business. And you think you'd ever like playing? And I pretended to be, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Anyway, we became good friends, and they come down like so many people who get married in Bermuda, have their honeymoon in Bermuda. They come back every year. Mm-hmm. And then their 20th anniversary, they were here a couple of years ago, and he was telling me about he just written this book to promote his post mayorship in consulting, in community consulting. And he hooked me up with these people, and one thing led to another. Next thing I know, I'm signing a contract, and it took a year. One of the best things we did in the beginning was have the writer, a wonderful woman, Jen Holt, who has a PhD in philosophy from Vanderbilt. And we had her come down for a week and stay in our cottage and immerse her fully in everything Bermuda and Excel, and meet friends and colleagues. And that was a great way to start it. So then I would dictate to her and text every day, and we'd work through the editing. It took a year of steady work, but I'm glad it's over. And but I guess you're never perfectly happy with the product like that. There was a lot of editing. They really wanted to make it addressed to young up and coming business people. So they really wanted to make it a story about building Excel and business. And they took out a whole lot of personal stuff that I wanted to talk about as well. So I probably didn't have the right publisher for a memoir, but I guess the business book's okay too.
Oh, definitely it is, Brian. Bill and I can say for sure, the best thing about finishing a book that you've written is that sense of accomplishment that you get, that it's simply done.
I have to say I'm intrigued by the title. It's not the score, it's a trip. And you earlier on you mentioned football, and I think your football and my football are probably slightly different. So I'll refer to mine as soccer if you prefer. But I would have to say that if I was writing this book, I would have to turn this around. It would have to say it's not the trip, it's the score. Because I think in anything in soccer it doesn't matter how well you play. If you don't win, you haven't played the game properly.
Well, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to define what winning is. And what I'm saying, it's not all about money. It's about the whole experience. Now, what I did, that title came from one of my best friends who was down. We grew up together in Medina, Washington, right near where Bill Gates is. And we had moved from Philadelphia. It was a big change in our life. And I'd never known rich people before. And all of a sudden we're living amongst them. and he taught me an awful lot about how rich people think, which was a really good thing to learn. And he was very creative, and he went to art school, and he did most of our annual reports, and he did marketing things. But one of it, he did a logo. We're both Grateful Dead aficionados, and he has this golfer with kind of Dead-esque skeleton, and not the score of the trip is about golf. When you go out and play a round at Mid-Ocean Club, and it's God's beauty, couldn't be better, and you're with great company and friends, you got to be enjoying the whole event, not worrying about the next putt or you got a double bogey. You're out there to have fun and really enjoy the whole experience, and that's kind of where I borrowed it from.
Yeah, I think that's right, because I think, it's kind of one of our mottos too, in all seriousness, that if what we're doing isn't fun, we'd probably prefer to not do it. It
Right.
has to be fun. It's all very well talking about profitability. We understand that. But, if you're doing it just for the sake of profitability, you're probably missing out a whole chunk of your life. So fun is pretty much a key word that we tend to use every day.
Oh yeah, olderhood, it's all about fun.
That's why it's working so well.
So since you retired from what I'm going to refer to as an extremely distinguished and lofty career, what's your advice to everybody else who's over the age of 50 and that retirement thing, it's somewhere on the horizon?
Well, I didn't plan for it. I don't know many people do. Now, as a public, I didn't want to retire, but as a public company CEO, your board tells you when it's time to go. And if you're there for a long time, they feel that it's their duty to turn it over to a new generation. And that's what happened to me as well. You don't like it at first, but you learn, that's the way it works. And we had a year of transition, which I think is a good thing to do. Where I became chairman and Mike McGavick, a new CEO, could then learn the ropes and we could work together and then I could bow out. I remember Jack Welch telling me at a Congress that we had in Boston, and he said, when it's time to go, get out. Do not get in the way of the people that are following you. And I took that to heart, and he's right.
So you've just finished your book. What's next for you? What's your next chapter going to be about?
Well, I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't answer the phone unless it was something that was new or different or a game changer. And I didn't want any part of a public company board. I'd had enough of that. I didn't care what they were paying. And I'm really glad I stuck to those tenets. And it's led me to a number of projects that I'm still involved in. Well, there was one in the beginning that Tom Donahue Jr., the son of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce CEO, where I've been on the board for 20 years. It was about intangible asset insurance. And it just seemed like a great idea. We went to market. We gathered $200 million of A+ insurance capacity to insure intangible assets that were used for collateral in business loans. Because here, up to even now, a lot of intangible assets which are worth a lot of money do not get any credit as collateral. Now, we thought it was a brilliant idea, and everybody did except for one very important group, the bank regulators. They just wouldn't buy it, and they wouldn't give us a reason why. But even though it didn't get up into action, it was a lot of fun working on it, and I learned an awful lot from it. And again, that's where it was the trip. I learned a lot from the trip, even though we didn't score. Also, then I've gotten involved with a company called Drystone, which reinvented how claims are done in runoff and now in new business, where they learned how to get a law firm to be the claims department. And then the law firm doesn't charge by the hour. They charge on the success of handling the claims in a
Of the
keeping
outcomes.
an efficient manner and settling them faster. There's a myth in the industry that holding on and dragging out the claim makes it more profitable, and that's a total falsehood, because you do a lot better by settling claims faster, and you get a better deal than it costs paying lawyers for 2-3 years to settle the claim. Another one is Fortitude Re. Brian Dupereau at AIG asked me to join this new spinoff from AIG that they were running off. AIG is so big, it's mind-boggling. They're the biggest financial institution in the world at one point. And so they put together billions of dollars of runoff, and that's been fun. And now it's completely spun off, and it's basically run by Carlyle Group and their investors. And that's been exciting in that it's a lot of it is about life insurance runoff, which is rather newer to me. But that Bermuda is really having a great experience and growth in the life area, and it's mostly because of private equity, because you have to asset liability match in risk taking, and in life the tail is way out, like 50 years sometimes, and you can't find any financial institute like financial bonds or things like that. They have a 30-year maximum life, whereas private equity can be structured to go way beyond. So there's been a nice little boost for our business community here in Bermuda with the life runoff and private equity coming in.
Well, very good. So Brian, tell us what else you've been working on.
Well, one of the more interesting things that I've gotten involved in is a directorship of a startup company called Envelop Risk, which is artificial intelligence directed at first cyber insurance and cyber reinsurance. But we're finding that these artificial intelligence models can be applied in a lot of different underwriting areas. So we're very excited about the future, the traction we're getting in the market so far, and the potential use. And we're even working on a pandemic product right now. So that there's no doubt that artificial intelligence is going to be a big part of the future in managing and underwriting in insurance reinsurance business.
You know, we've been doing some other work for Leaders in Action in the health field. I mean, we're not health experts, but we work with some people stateside who are all over the map when it comes to different varieties of health. But artificial intelligence is beginning to really take hold. And I guess what I mean by that is, for people who do understand artificial intelligence, it's been around for quite some time. But I think the general public is now beginning to say, whoa, wait a minute, let me think about this. Let me find out about this. And I think that future, the future of artificial intelligence, is endless.
It's becoming a part of everything, all pursuits in life, and but especially in business. And I think it's going to be really good for the general welfare of the public.
And I presume you feel therefore that the ancillary industries, if I may call it that, such as insurance or investing or banking, etc., financial management, I would imagine therefore that all of those ancillaries, if I can call it that, are an integral part of the future of artificial intelligence.
The sky's the limit.
Fascinating time to be in business. You've been watching Leaders in Action. If you have a comment or a question about the series, you can reach out to us at Bill, that's BILL @olderhood.com. And we look forward to chatting with you again soon. Take care, everyone.